from Derivan and welcome back to the studio, or welcome to the studio if this is your first time. Today we're going to create a mixed media painting, and the first step of doing that is to create interesting things to place within the painting. Now, mixed media just means that we've used something other than just paint of whatever sort. So today I'm introducing some oil pastels, and I've got some Derivan oil pastels here. We're introducing some Derivan ink, and we're introducing some gesso and some polymer gloss varnish and some compressed charcoal. There's a bit of wax in it, there's all sorts of things. Don't worry too much if you haven't picked up on all of those. You'll sort of see as we go along, it becomes quite easy to follow. There's no rules to this, you can do whatever you want. It's only limited by your imagination. So what we're going to first do here is we've got some watercolour paper, and I'm going to do sort of two lots of this. So what I've done here first of all is I've got some gesso ready and it's got some paint in it. We're just laying down some big shapes and drawing into it with some wax crayon and then some charcoal. I've just got a tea light here and we're going to wet the paper as well. Now watch this shape here in water. You'll see later it appears as we drop ink into it. So this is the thing with working with ink and water. It'll find the puddle of water for you. So just drawing back here with some ink, drawing some lines. So the lines are going to stay there. I'm going to wet a bit of this just to soften those edges somewhat. And we're just going to add some colour because I think it needs it. Let's move these puddles with our finger and just distort those lines somewhat. Just break them up. So I think that's pretty good. Let's try another one, shall we? Okay, so we've wet the paper and we've got some dry. See this time where it's a big puddle of water, the ink spreads, unlike last time. So I'm using a tea light here and then some wax crayon. The tea light we can't see, but watch what happens with the ink. Oh, actually, the ink doesn't live in there. So, back to the tea light. See how the wax appears through the ink. So we just add some drawn line on top of that now, and we drop some ink back into it. Just positive and negative shapes all the way. So once we've got these two done, what we're going to do is just tear them up. Tear them into different shapes and sizes once we're happy with it. Okay, so let's go. So just rip at random. We don't want them too even. And just make sure that we've got plenty of interesting things happening on each torn piece. So now we've got our torn up pieces. What I'm going to do, I've got some watercolour paper here and we're just going to do some printing on the back, and we're going to attach these pieces with some polymer gloss varnish, alright? We're using polymer gloss because it's the same product in a clear form as what the paint is. So it's going to actually bind with the polymers of the paint much more efficiently than using glue or anything like that. So let's go. So I'm going to start by just printing some letters and some numbers and some pattern. Then what we're going to do is glue in some of those pieces that we created before, and I'm using some from each one. Remember, one was slightly brighter than the other. Once we've got all these glued down, we're going to need to just break it up a bit. So join some of the pieces, draw back into it, simplify them with paint where necessary, and make it a painting rather than a series of things plonked on a board. So step back and have a look. We still need a good play of shade, light, dark, big shapes, little shapes. But I think this is starting to work. We can just do with a little bit of line down here. And that's pretty good, I reckon. Welcome back. Now we've let all that dry off, and what we've got here is a surface that has nice textures, has nice images, has nice dimension to it. What I want to do is simplify it a little bit because it is looking to my eye a bit busy. So what I'm actually going to do is add more to make it simple. But what I'm going to do is just make it, the continuity of it, a bit more stable. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is just add some more stenciling. So I've got a stencil here. I'm just going to broadside it across through here, just to tie these wonderful numbers in. So have a little play with those bits and pieces, and you're only limited by your own imagination. Now remember, we just used Derivan Acrylic, the Derivan oil pastels, we've used gesso in the paint areas, and we've used the ink in other areas. We've combined those, we've done them on bits of paper and added to them, and then we've printed over the top. We've printed underneath. So it's only limited by your imagination. Just be careful not to get it too busy, and just make sure that it doesn't become a pattern. It needs to be a painting. And have some fun. Enjoy.